Why are discount snack stores suddenly popping up on every block? And whose money are they really making? Have you noticed this too? A new snack store opens near your apartment. Then another one shows up 2 blocks away. Then another one opens across from the gas station. Before you know it, one stretch of road has 3 or 4 of them, and they're spreading faster than bubble tea shops ever did. You walk in, and the prices almost feel unreal. A bottle of Coke for $1. Instant noodles for less than you'd pay at a grocery chain. Name brand chips, candy, jerky, cookies, energy drinks, some of it priced 20, 30, even 40% lower than what you expect. And most people have the exact same reaction. Finally, for once, the regular customer is winning. For once, it feels like we're the ones outsmarting the system. But before you celebrate, let me say something as honestly as I can. You think these stores are just selling snacks. They're not. They're playing a much bigger game. And you think the game is retail. It's not. It's financial engineering disguised as cheap junk food. Because the real genius of this business isn't that they sell you a $1 soda. The genius is that the soda changes the way you think the second you walk through the door. It changes your sense of value. It changes your spending behavior. It changes how much friction you feel before tossing just one more thing into the basket. And when you zoom out, you realize something even more important. The snack itself may not be the real product at all. Let me give you a few numbers to wake you up. Across the country, several fast-growing discount snack chains have expanded aggressively with thousands of locations or franchise commitments in various stages of development. Some stores are tucked into working-class neighborhoods. Others are in polished suburban shopping centers. Some are in high-foot traffic commuter corridors. Some are near schools, gyms, and apartment complexes. But despite those differences, many of these stores follow the same core pattern: small footprint, high traffic, low sticker prices, and very fast product movement. A solid location can bring in a few $1,000s a day. A hot location can do much more, and that's what confuses people. If the prices are so low and the stores keep multiplying, how does the business still make sense? The answer is simple. They are not running a normal snack business. They are running a 3-layer extraction machine, and every layer is designed to hit an ordinary person right where they're weakest. The first move is what you see: cheap prices. The second move is what you don't see: brutal inventory velocity. And the third move, the most important one, is that many of these chains don't make their biggest money from customers at all. They make it from the people desperate to own the store. That's the whole machine. So let's break it down. First, the low prices you see are often a carefully designed illusion. Not fake prices, real prices, but strategically chosen prices. Think about your own behavior. Every time you walk into one of these stores, what's the first thing you notice? It's never the obscure imported crackers or the weird off-brand gummies sitting in the back corner. It's the front display, the loud stuff, the familiar stuff, the brand names you already trust, that cold Coke by the entrance, that recognizable candy brand, that well-known jerky label. That stack of chips with a price tag that looks lower than the grocery store, lower than the convenience store, maybe even lower than Amazon when you buy in small quantities. And the moment you see that, your brain makes a shortcut. If this stuff is cheap, everything in here must be cheap. That is the trap. Retailers understand something most consumers don't. Your brain does not evaluate every price independently. It builds a feeling. Once the store wins that feeling, once it convinces you this is a deal place, your guard drops. Your price sensitivity doesn't disappear, but it gets redirected. You stop comparing item by item, and you start shopping by vibe. That's when the basket starts filling itself. You came in for a drink. Then you grab some chocolate, then a novelty soda, then a bag of spicy chips you've never heard of, then some protein bites with suspicious branding but a fun flavor, then a random imported cookie because it looks interesting, then a family-sized candy bag because the per-ounce math seems good. And by the time you reach checkout, you've spent far more than you planned. All because a few carefully selected products gave you permission to trust the whole store. That front shelf Coke may not be there to make money. It may be there to make you lower your defenses. In the digital world, tech companies call this a loss leader, a customer acquisition tool, or an attention hook. In retail, it's the same principle. You aggressively price a small group of highly recognizable items because those items create credibility. They tell the customer, relax, you're getting a bargain here. And once the customer believes that, the real margin begins. Because the money is often in the lesser-known products, the unfamiliar cookies, the off-brand energy drinks, the oddball candy bundles, the private label nuts, the spicy meat sticks with flashy packaging and no real brand loyalty attached to them. Those are the products where margins can get much fatter. This is where consumer psychology becomes more important than consumer income. A lot of people assume the biggest spenders are wealthy shoppers. That's not always true. In stores like this, the most profitable customer is often not the richest customer. It's the least disciplined one, the person who shops emotionally, the person who responds to novelty, the person who sees a low price and feels urgency, the person who tells themselves, "It's only a few bucks," over and over and over again. And that only a few bucks mindset is exactly how people lose control of small spending. Not through one giant bad decision, but through 10 tiny ones that don't feel dangerous in the moment. That's why these stores can be so effective. Wealthier shoppers often buy with filters: brand reputation, ingredient quality, consistency, health preferences, convenience, maybe even status. But the average shopper under financial pressure is more likely to buy based on the emotional sensation of saving money. And if a store can manufacture that sensation, it can steer behavior. So no, you're not necessarily beating capitalism because you found a cheap soda. Sometimes the cheap soda is capitalism at its smartest. Now let's move to the second layer, because this is where the business gets much more powerful. The second move is eliminating middlemen and weaponizing speed. Traditional retail has a long supply chain. A manufacturer sells to a distributor. The distributor sells to a regional wholesaler. The wholesaler sells to the retailer. The retailer sells to you. And at every step, someone adds markup. Someone adds shipping cost. Someone adds storage cost. Someone adds operating cost. Someone adds their own required profit. By the time that snack lands in a traditional supermarket, the original product cost may be only a fraction of what you end up paying. And big retailers pile on extra complexity: shelf placement fees, promotional fees, marketing allowances, slotting arrangements, all kinds of behind-the-scenes costs that customers never see but absolutely pay for. So when people say, grocery stores are ripping us off, the reality is usually more complicated than that. A lot of the price inflation comes from structure. Too many hands touching the product before it reaches the shelf. Discount snack chains try to strip that down. They negotiate directly with manufacturers when they can. They centralize purchasing. They aggregate demand across a huge network of stores. And once you have enough locations, the power relationship flips. Instead of the store begging suppliers for product, suppliers start caring very deeply about landing shelf space inside that chain. And scale changes everything. If one independent corner shop buys 40 cases, it has no leverage. If a growing chain buys 40,000 cases, now the conversation is different. That chain may secure lower unit prices, better payment terms, exclusive packaging, promotional support, and faster replenishment cycles. And all of that matters. But here's where most people still misunderstand the business. They think low costs are the main advantage. They're not. Speed is the main advantage. If you really want to understand why these stores can survive on thinner-looking margins, you need to look at inventory turnover. Let's say a traditional small retailer buys $100,000 worth of snack inventory. Because its traffic is slower and its assortment is broader, maybe that inventory takes 45 to 75 days to fully cycle through. So the money is sitting on shelves. It is trapped in boxes. It is not liquid. It is not being reinvested. It is just waiting. Now imagine a high-velocity discount snack store with tighter product selection and stronger traffic. That same $100,000 of inventory may turn much faster. Maybe every couple of weeks in the hottest categories, maybe every few weeks overall. The exact number varies, but the principle is what matters. The faster the product moves, the more times the same dollars can produce revenue in a year. This is one of the most important business lessons ordinary consumers almost never think about. Low margin does not automatically mean low profit. If the turnover is fast enough, a lower margin can outperform a higher margin business that moves slowly. A traditional store might sell through its capital 8 times a year. A faster store might turn it 20, 25, even 30 times in major categories. That means the same inventory dollars can generate dramatically different annual sales volumes depending on speed alone. And once you understand that, the low pricing stops looking generous and starts looking strategic. They can afford to make less per item because the item doesn't sit still. It runs. That's the violent beauty of turnover. And once a business figures that out, it starts optimizing the entire store around movement. Fewer decision bottlenecks, more visual triggers, more snackable products, more impulse-friendly packaging, more limited-time flavors, more weird items that create curiosity, more front-of-store urgency, more reasons for you to buy now instead of later. This is not just retail. It is behavior design. And there's something else here that should make you stop and think. A lot of customers confuse low price with low greed. They assume if the price is lower, the business must somehow be more morally aligned with the consumer. Not necessarily. Sometimes the lower price is simply part of a more advanced machine. Now let's get to the third layer, because this is where the business model becomes truly ruthless. For many fast-expanding chains, the biggest money isn't in selling snacks to shoppers. It's in selling the dream to future store owners. This is the part most customers never see. When you're standing there comparing trail mix prices, you think the company's goal is to make a few dollars off your checkout basket. That's pocket change. The much bigger prize is the middle-class person who sees these packed stores, hears the growth story, and starts thinking, maybe I should open one too. That person is the real target. Because high-growth retail chains love one thing more than customer traffic: franchise demand. Why? Because every new store opening can create multiple streams of income for headquarters before that location ever proves it can succeed long-term. First, there's the initial setup: lease planning, store design, fixtures, shelving, point-of-sale systems, signage, brand packages, opening inventory requirements, approved contractors, required software, mandatory vendor relationships. Every one of those line items can become a profit center. Then there's the franchise fee, licensing fee, training fee, support fee, and sometimes deposits or other capital commitments depending on the model. Multiply that across hundreds or thousands of expansion plans, and suddenly the company is generating a massive amount of relatively predictable cash before the local operator even has a chance to discover whether the neighborhood can support another snack store. And then comes the part that matters even more: the cash flow pool. In many franchise-style systems, the local operator has to prepay for inventory or pay on much shorter terms than corporate pays its suppliers. That creates a timing gap. Money comes in from operators today, but payments to manufacturers may go out much later. That gap matters, because time is money in the most literal sense. If you have thousands of stores constantly sending money upstream for restocks, openings, fees, and system purchases, headquarters can end up sitting on an enormous pool of working capital. Even if margins on the products themselves are modest, the financial power created by that cash flow timing can be enormous. And that's when you realize the company may not just be operating a snack chain. It may be operating a financing engine disguised as a snack chain. This is why aggressive expansion can look so irrational from the outside. You ask, why would they open another location 3 minutes away from the last one? Because saturation is not always the enemy if the machine is still attracting operators, moving inventory, and collecting cash. Now, does that mean every chain is fraudulent? No. Does it mean every franchise opportunity is bad? No. But it does mean you should stop evaluating these businesses the way a customer evaluates a shopping trip. Customers look at shelf prices. Investors and operators need to look at incentives. Who gets paid first? Who takes the inventory risk? Who gets the fixed fees? Who benefits even if a local store struggles? Who still wins when one operator fails, but another eager applicant takes their place? That's the real question. And this is where the story gets cold, because in hyper-competitive markets, the people taking the biggest risk are often not the corporate brand and not the end customer. It's the franchisee. I've seen this pattern in different industries over and over again. A business category gets hot. Social media fills with success stories. A few early operators do well. Corporate marketing amplifies the winners. New applicants rush in. Locations multiply. Competition intensifies. Margins tighten at the local level. Underperforming operators burn out. But corporate keeps moving because the pipeline of new believers hasn't dried up yet. That cycle is brutal. And it's emotionally powerful because it doesn't sell products first. It sells hope. Hope that this is your chance to escape a boring job. Hope that you can own something simple. Hope that because the store looks busy, the economics must be strong. Hope that if everyone keeps buying cheap snacks, how hard can it be? But foot traffic is not the same as owner profit. Revenue is not the same as operator survival. And a full parking lot is not the same as a healthy business. A lot of local owners discover that too late. Rent is high. Labor costs rise. Shrinkage happens, waste happens, local competition increases, promotions get copied, the novelty wears off, and suddenly that easy business starts looking a lot less easy. Meanwhile, headquarters may have already collected the fees, moved the opening package, sold the systems, benefited from inventory flow, and lined up the next operator. That is why this model can feel so efficient and so cold at the same time. It is efficient because it shifts risk downward. It is cold because the people with the smallest margin for error are the ones carrying the heaviest burden. And for traditional mom-and-pop convenience stores or family-run mini-markets, this can be devastating. They don't have the same purchasing power. They don't have the same centralized systems. They don't have the same marketing. They don't have the same ability to use a few underpriced hero items to reset the customer's expectation across the entire basket. So when discount snack chains flood a market, the neighborhood store isn't just facing competition. It's facing a different species of competition, a faster machine, a more financialized machine, a machine that understands consumer psychology, supply chain leverage, and expansion economics all at once. That's why these stores keep multiplying, while old-school corner stores keep disappearing. It's not an accident. It's selection pressure. So what should you actually take away from all this? 3 things. First, the cheap thing you notice first is often the thing designed to manipulate you most effectively. In business, a visible bargain is rarely just a bargain. It is usually a signal, a lure, or a behavioral tool. The question is never just, is this item cheap? The real question is, what does this cheap item make me do next? Second, the biggest money in a business is often not where the average customer thinks it is. People assume profit comes from the final sale. Sometimes it does. But often the real money is made from the people in the middle. Platforms make money from merchants. Brokers make money from both sides. Marketplaces make money from sellers chasing attention. And retail chains can make enormous money from operators chasing ownership. That is one of the deepest truths in modern business. If you want to understand who is really getting rich, stop looking at the storefront and start looking at the structure. Third, next time you walk into one of these stores and see that absurdly cheap soda, don't just think, wow, what a deal. Think more carefully. Ask yourself what role you're playing in the machine. Are you genuinely saving money because you bought exactly what you planned to buy and left? Or did you just help complete a beautifully engineered commercial loop designed to turn your attention, your impulse, and your optimism into somebody else's profit? Because once you can see the rules, you stop confusing low prices with generosity. You stop confusing busy stores with healthy businesses. And you stop confusing expansion with proof. That's when you become much harder to exploit. And honestly, that lesson goes way beyond snack stores. It applies to apps that lure you in with free. It applies to financial products with teaser rates. It applies to marketplaces that subsidize one side to trap the other. It applies to businesses that look customer-friendly on the surface while quietly making their real money somewhere else entirely. The world is full of companies offering you a visible win so they can build an invisible advantage. If you can train yourself to ask, where is the real margin? Where is the real leverage? And who is carrying the real risk? You'll understand business at a level most consumers never do. And once you understand that, you won't just spend differently, you'll think differently. And that alone can save you a lot more than $1 on a soda.